Right, we are live for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we have the sprint race today, and lots to look forward to. We have 17 laps of racing here, and yeah, well, the F2 race had 9 DNFs, and well, if that's anything to go by, we're going to have quite a lot of action. In today's race, we've only got 19 drivers taking part. We have got Logan Sargent is not taking part in this race, and I think that is due to his crash in sprint quali. They couldn't fix the car in time, and that is why Logan Sargent is not taking part. So we've only got 19 drivers starting this race, but nevertheless, 19 drivers, going to be lots of action, and we might as well start working our way up from the bottom up, talking about all of the drivers. The race starts in 13 minutes time. We will have 17 laps of racing, a formation lap, of course, as usual. All the drivers currently up on the grid, just talking to the engineers, getting ready, and then they will get in their cars and we will go racing shortly. But do let me know in chat what your predictions are. Who do you think is going to win? Can Leclerc hold on to that lead that he had in qualifying and that pace advantage, or will he end up staying behind Max Verstappen? Or will Max Verstappen overtake him down the straights? Also, another thing that I would like to just point out is that usually when we have DRS in races, it gets enabled 3 laps after the start of the race, but in a sprint race we have got it to enable only 1 lap after the start of the race. So the first lap there's no DRS, and right after that, lap number 2, we have DRS enabled, and that's definitely going to make the racing a lot better and a lot closer as well. Sorry for that, I just had to sneeze. All right, so all right then, bit flustered here, right? So we've got Esteban Ocon starting the race in the pit lane. Well, he is in the pits right now. I don't know exactly why he is in the pit lane. He probably had some sort of issue or is modifying his car. I guess we'll find out. And then we have Nick de Vries starting in 18th after, of course, he had his incident in qualifying. Wait, one second, guys. I just need to do something. I'll be back. Alright, so I'm back, and just confirming, so Logan Sargent has withdrawn after damaging his car earlier, and we have got, of course, a sprint race, and it will be the top 8 drivers will score points, and top 8 drivers scoring points, of course, 8 points for the driver in first place, 7 points for the driver in second, as we go down. Another thing to point out is that the Aston Martins have got issues with their DRS. It hasn't been activating correctly. Now that's a bit of an issue with it not activating correct. Your mic has a little bit of static. Okay, I will try and fix that. Hopefully that fixes it. Yeah. So effectively, what happens to Aston Martin? See, that could be a little bit of a safety hazard as well, because if their DRS doesn't activate, it probably also has a problem with deactivating as well. So say they were going down the straight and they activate DRS and they start hitting the brakes with braking zone, and DRS just doesn't deactivate. They have literally no rear grip whatsoever, and they're gonna have to be sure that it's fully functional. Otherwise, they could definitely lose out a lot of time and also be like a pretty dangerous pretty dangerous car on the circuit. But yeah, so that helps for Alex Albon. Alex Albon had a great quali today, up in 7th place. We'll see if he can keep that up and stay in 7th place. Maybe score some points today, and yeah, help that Williams teams out. Okie dokes. 8 minutes now till the race begins. Well, till the formation lap starts. But we do have Charles Leclerc on pole position once again after a brilliant qualifying session. Just another brilliant lap from him. And we saw that the Ferraris were significantly quicker in the low-speed corners. The higher speed corner it got, the slower the Ferraris were compared to the Red Bulls. And most of the circuit, including Sector 2, which is very much like slow speed corners, effectively. The Ferrari was dominating the Red Bull, and we'll see if that plays out. Also, another thing to point out is that we don't know what tyres everyone's going to be using. With 17 laps left, we could have drivers start the race on the softs and try and stretch it out to the end of the race, or they could go out on the mediums and try and stretch that. Well, it won't be a stretch on the mediums. Mediums will be quite comfortable, but yeah, they obviously will be slower on the mediums, so it's a bit of a tricky strategy. And we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do, what the drivers and the teams decide is the correct way to go forward. But you know, it's a tough call for the mechanics. 17 laps is always very touch and go. It's 1/3 of the race distance that we're going to have in the actual race, and we'll see how that goes for them. I presume we're going to see like a split between which tires that we choose. We're going to have like 50% of the grid on the softs, 50% on the mediums. But it is tricky. Pirelli, I haven't seen any of the Pirelli data, but yeah. Ocon is starting in 19th because I'm not exactly sure why. He is starting from the pit lane, so he could have made some modifications to his car, because that's the rule. If you make modifications to your car, you have to start from pits. But I'm scrolling through the F1 like race feed, and I can't find anything on Esteban Ocon, so yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Esteban Ocon should be up in 12th position. Oh no, sorry. My bad. I don't know where he qualified in the sprint shootout. Let me just check where he qualified. So Ocon qualified in 13th in the sprint shootout, but he is starting in 19th. Now that's either an issue with his car and they're switching something up, or yeah, something unknown. Alright, with 5 minutes left now, Norris and Piastri starting in 10th and 11th. The McLaren upgrade's really helping that car out, and they have really propelled themselves up the grid, and we'll see if they're good in race conditions as well, because now we've only seen them in qualifying conditions. And we know the Ferrari's good in quality conditions, maybe not so good in the race conditions, and we'll see how that McLaren fares as well as they test out those upgrades, gather some data and some understanding around how those parts work and how they affect and improve the car. Carlos Sainz as well has a lot of work to do in 5th position. He was 6/10 slower than Charles Leclerc in qualifying, and well, he's going to have to catch up, at least overtake Russell, if he wants to prove that he is capable of keeping up with Charles Leclerc when he is on a good day. And the Mercs as well. The Mercs have done a good job. They've actually got ahead of Aston Martin. I don't think many people have been talking about this really, but the Aston Martins, as we saw, they were the 3rd fastest car in the previous races, but Mercedes have started to understand their car a little bit more, brought a couple of small upgrades here and there, and they really they nailed their setup as well. Lewis Hamilton was talking about it, and they kind of understood their setup a little bit more, pick the correct setup, know what's faster, and now they can, well, really attack this weekend and be quicker than Aston Martin by the looks of it. Of course, Aston Martin are suffering from DRS issues, and that is hampering the pace of Alonso and Stroll, but we'll see how that progresses, and if they have that sorted out, that'd be brilliant. Yeah. Your mic is a bit crackly. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me. Right, the screen's gonna go slightly weird. Just I have to copy some settings over from copy settings. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to fix this mic. There we go. Okay, this is the same mic settings that we had in Quali. So hopefully that should have fixed it. Yeah, just right. So let me know if this new mic is better, because I've just changed some of the settings, because I think I had slightly different settings between qualifying and the race, which obviously shouldn't. Much better. Okay, cool. Well, here we are then. So we are now 3 minutes away from the qualifying starting, and not qualifying, the race starting. Sorry, and yeah, so we've tended back to the usual top three of Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes a little bit, but I think if Alonso gets a good start, and if there's a bit of chaos as well, thing is, there is the chance of chaos is so much better, like so high. We had 9 DNFs in the F2 sprint race. Of course, the F2 sprint race, the driver's a little bit more inexperienced, but we saw 9 DNFs in no, I think it was 8 DNFs in the Australian Grand Prix, and well, we know Baku has always got a lot more action than Australia on the usual, on average at least. So who knows what will happen, especially with the one little change of DRS being activated only after 1 lap instead of 3. That is definitely going to bring the whole field a whole lot closer to each other. All right, what was quali for? Quali was for the race on Sunday. Yeah. Okay, we've got the tyre information. So we have got Lando Norris and Valtteri Bottas are the only 2 drivers starting the race on the soft tyres. Everyone else is starting the race on the mediums, and yeah, rather interesting. We have a range. Some teams starting on fresh sets of mediums, like Ferrari. Both drivers on fresh sets of medium tyres, and Mercedes doing the exact opposite. Russell's on 7-lap-old mediums. Hamilton's on 6-lap-old mediums. But yeah, I'd say everyone in the top 10 except the Ferraris are on used tyres, and then everyone in the bottom 10 are on fresh sets of tyres, apart from Esteban Ocon and Nico Hulkenberg, who are on slightly used tyres. But here we are at Baku, 6-kilometer long circuit, and we have 17 laps of racing around here, 20 corners, and we're actually at Baku's 28 meters below sea level. But the elevation change on this circuit is 26 meters rise up and down, and that's mainly between turn 14, 15, and 16. There is a significant downhill, and we're going to have a pretty big, lots of downhill braking, which makes it pretty difficult. We've seen a couple of mistakes here and there. We got at the back of the pack, we have Esteban Ocon starting from the pit lane, Pierre Gasly and Nick de Vries in 17th and 18th. And then we have Guan Yu Zhou and Valtteri Bottas in 14th and 15th. The 2 Haas drivers in 12th and 13th, the 2 McLarens in 10th and 11th, the 2 Aston Martins in 8th and 9th, and then we have Hamilton and Albon in 6th and 7th, Russell and Sainz in 4th and 5th, and the 2 Red Bulls in 2nd and 3rd, and then Charles Leclerc starting up on pole position. Also, I would like to point out that the drivers with odd starting positions, they're on the clean side of the grid, whereas the drivers on even starting positions are on the dirty side of the grid. So Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, they're all going to have slightly better race starts than the drivers on that beside them, basically. But it's a pretty small margin, to be honest, and I think that how fresh your tires are probably will have a bigger impact. But here the other drivers are out on the formation lap. We will be going racing shortly then. Let's just try and make this slightly bigger. There we go. All right. Oh, actually, that's a bit too far to the right. There we go. Okie dokes. So, drivers just weaving around, getting some brake temperature. Also, another thing to consider here is that brake temperature is extremely hard to come by going into turn number 1. We're going to have drivers do a whole bunch of weaving and warming up their tires and everything and then they're going to go down a 2 kilometer straight with no corners whatsoever. They will, of course, do some braking, heavy braking before they reach their grid spot, but their brakes are going to cool significantly going into turn number 1, 2 and 3. And yeah, we'll find out how long until our first red flag or our first yellow flag, and who knows what will happen. Also, guys, we do have 1,000 people watching. If you are enjoying the stream, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you are enjoying, then I am commentating for the full race tomorrow as well. So, yeah, go ahead and subscribe. Why are there only 19 drivers on the timetable? That is because Logan Sargent is not taking part. He damaged his car too much in the sprint qualifying, and the mechanics could not fix it in time for the sprint race. So that's why we've only got 19 drivers on the grid. Yeah, it is the formation lap right now. The driver's just driving around, getting up some brake temperature, and then we'll be going racing shortly. What are my predictions? I think that off the race start, Verstappen is going to overtake Perez, and then we're going to have a little bit, Leclerc's going to pull away, but Verstappen will stay within DRS, and they'll have a little bit of a battle there. And I'd say maybe further down the field, we're going to have like at least one incident, one driver going into the barrier, and then that will bring out a safety car. So that's my prediction. But let me know what yours are in the chat, and we'll see who's right, really. Yeah. Okie dokie then. Charles Leclerc coming up to his grid slot. It's not a very long run down to the line comparatively to most of the other circuits that we race at. It's quite short, in fact. The drivers very much just start accelerating, and that early phase of traction is very, very important. And then the early traction phase is very important, but then after that your acceleration isn't particularly important because you're basically braking into turn number 1 straight away. So that's kind of what's going to happen. Has Aston fixed the DRS? We do not know. I guess we'll find out when DRS is enabled in like 2 laps time. Also, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix has been extended out to 2026, so it will remain on the calendar till then. And yeah, crackling is back. I've literally done nothing, and my mic has just broken itself. I'll try and fix it. If it continues, then I'll try and fix it in like once the race start is finished. Like we'll have like 2 laps happening, and then yeah. But the race has just begun. Leclerc maintains his lead going into turn number 1, and everyone just going side by side. Very careful though, and we've basically had everyone maintain position going through the first couple of corners. Esteban Ocon comes out the pit lane, and we've got Charles Leclerc leading the way. Then Sergio Perez behind him, and Verstappen loses a place to Russell. Russell sends one down the inside at turn number 2, and it's Leclerc, then Perez, then Russell, Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, and Albon losing places, and Alonso still in 7th position. All right, it is getting side-by-side action for days now, and Hülkenberg trying to go around the outside of Oscar Piastri at turn number 5. Can he make it around? No, he cannot. Oscar Piastri just squeezes him out, and they're basically nose to tail. It is a single file now through the castle section. Charles Leclerc leads away, the gap already ahead of 1 second. If Leclerc can break DRS, that will be absolutely brilliant for his chances of winning this race. But yeah, the gap currently 1.1 seconds, and we'll see what Perez can do. And Russell now, though, just leading the way ahead of the rest of the pack, because we've had a little bit of a break-off in terms of pace. And then Esteban Ocon caught up to the back of the field, overtakes Yuki Tsunoda, in fact. And Tsunoda's going slowly. Tsunoda is going very slowly at the back of the pack. Looks like he may have some sort of an issue. And we have got a yellow flag out on the circuit, in fact. Yellow flag out on the circuit. Let me just change that on the map. Yuki Tsunoda going very slowly. and we'll see what happens to him. All right. Yeah, we're just keeping the yellow flags out on the track. Tsunoda had a puncture earlier in FP1, and we'll just see if he can recover from that. But guys, DRS has been enabled, and Charles Leclerc has broken the DRS range. George Russell up into third position, stays ahead of Max Verstappen. Well, for now at least, Verstappen is within DRS range. Alonso ahead of Albon, and yeah, that top speed helping out, and we're going to see, maybe we're going to see a battle between Hamilton and Alonso in 6th and 7th position, and we'll see how those drivers battle it out. Really, that would be brilliant to see, to be honest. Let's just change this to tires. Oh, there we go. Okay, we have got a virtual safety car. There is a fair amount of debris on the circuit due to, well, Yuki Tsunoda going extremely slowly. And yeah, of course, debris on the circuit. So we've got a virtual safety car out. The race has been neutralized. So no overtaking as of now. And just a quick update on, from the race start, we've only had Russell go up 1 position, and hence Verstappen go down, Alonso go up 1, Albon go down 1, Norris go up 1, Stroll go down 1, and no insane race starts, no one gaining 10 places or 4 places or anything like that. But Yuki lost a tyre, and that's why we got the virtual safety car out. And yeah, the crackling is pretty bad. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to unplug my mic. Give me a second and then re-plug it back in. Oh, I think I figured out what it was. I've got my mic right next to my laptop charger, and it's making a whole bunch of electrical noise, and that's what's causing the crackling as far as I can tell. So I'm just moving this stuff all out of the way, and hopefully it's better now. Yeah. Okay, so there's just, debris on the circuit, virtual safety car, and when the cars are on the other side of the grid, we will have the marshals clear it up. So what happened to Yuki Tsunoda? Just going through turn number... Well, I think Yuki just got a puncture. It wasn't his fault or anything. He was going through turn number 15, and he had a rear right puncture from earlier in somehow got a puncture earlier, and that caused him to, of course, lose grip through turn 15, and then they just, completely lost control of the car. He did come into the pits. They did replace his tires. He is a lap down, and maybe he can outlap himself if there's a full safety car, but there we go. Oh, it sounds better. Okay. Well, yeah, that's kind of my fault for putting my laptop charger next to my thing and all the electrical noise, but it took me a while to realize that. Apologies for the lack of, for the bad audio earlier. All right. Still under virtual safety car conditions, though. It is taking a while to clear all of that up, and so they've got to take the entirety of the rear right tire from off the circuit, and then there's a whole bunch of the floor and the front wing that is all just littered all over the circuit. And they do need to clear it up. Did Yuki lose a tire yesterday? Yes, it's deja vu, really. Deja vu. Yuki did lose a tire in FP1 and had a puncture. Why is Yuki still going slowly? I think it's because it's virtual safety car conditions and you can't... Oh, we've got a full safety car, guys. He's going slower than the rest of the grid, I think, because it's safety car conditions and it looks like he's going slowly. But we'll wait and see. Maybe he has got major damage that can't be fixed, and that's why he's just driving around slowly, hoping not to damage any more parts. Also, yes, Russell's overtake on Verstappen. Russell kind of just barged his way down the inside. Verstappen had to end up tapping the wall. Yuki has once again got another issue, and that's why he's driving slowly. His steering is completely off. he's steering okay, yeah. No, there's something seriously wrong with his car, because he's steering left and the car's going in a straight line. Yeah. So yeah, Yuki will be retiring. I think they've put a full safety car out because it's basically a pretty major hazard, because Yuki can't control where his car's going. I think what's happened is one of his tires is attached properly and is delivering power, and the other tire isn't attached the right rear like it was damaged before, and it's not actually transmitting any power. So he's only got his rear left tire actually spinning, and the right rear tire just isn't spinning. So it's a bit strange, really, and he's just limping back to the pit lane. And I don't think they'll be able to fix it. To be honest, it's a bit of a major issue if your tire isn't spinning when you press the accelerator. But who knows? Yeah, Verstappen has floor damage. Okay, well, I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because that shunt against the wall caused by Russell's overtake definitely did have a pretty big impact. So now we're going to see what happens there. Also, we have the Alpine team getting ready for someone coming into the pits. Ocon has come into the pits now, switched off the medium tyres onto the soft tyres, and maybe that is the right way to go forward. With only 14 laps left, and we are currently under safety car conditions, that'll be maybe another lap or two under safety car, and then you've only got 12 laps to do, and the soft tyre will definitely be quicker than the medium tyre over the course of 12 laps. So we will see maybe Esteban Ocon climb his way up through the field. He wasn't going to score points anyway, because it was a sprint race, of course, and he was further down the pack. He was right at the back of the pack anyway. Yeah. Yeah, Verstappen's over the radio complaining because Russell drove into the side of his car. So that's kind of just, I don't know. It's a pretty tricky situation when you are on lap one, turn number one. It's pretty difficult. Yeah, looking at the onboard of Yuki's car, he is turning the steering wheel right, and the car is going in a straight line. So that's what's happening. Aston underperforming, or were they overperforming in the last three races? Well, see, that's the question, isn't it? Because Aston, they had a great couple of races, but I think it was mainly that the other teams were trying to understand their car and actually progress up the field a little bit. I think it's a combination of both. Mainly that the other cars have now got quicker and they've got upgrade packages, whereas Aston haven't got any upgrade packages, and that's what's caused Aston Martin to perceived to be slower. But in reality, they're obviously not slower. It's just the other teams have got faster. Yeah. All right. So we're still in the safety car conditions. I don't think it's in. It might be in this lap actually. The track seems to be clear, and Tsunoda's back into the pits. So we'll wait and see what happens. If the safety car does come in this lap, or if it is, we're going to do an extra lap under the safety car. But it's not ideal really, because of course, with only 17 laps of racing, if you reduce that down to maybe 10 laps, it kind of feels a little bit pointless. But it's kind of just what happens really. Hamilton came in with the radio, said the debris gone, it's clear. Most drivers are on the medium tires, because they are going for no pit stops. I think all the drivers on the soft tires as well are going for no pit stops, but they just think the soft tires are faster than the mediums. So there we are. All right, yeah, so they had a little bit of an issue attaching Yuki Tsunoda's right rear tyre, and it was just a little bit strange, to be honest. It looks like safety car is ending by the looks of it. Let me just, clear the safety car, because it looks like we've got a pretty big queue. forming, and we've got safety car ending. Yep, it is green flag racing, guys. Charles Leclerc will be leading the way, of course. I suspect what he'll be doing is driving as slowly as possible, all the way up to the late as possible as he can, because he does not want to give Perez a slipstream down into turn number 1. And once again, DRS is disabled as of now, but on the next lap it will be re-enabled, and we will get some more racing. Alright, so a quick little summary. We have Leclerc still in the lead of this race. Russell made an overtake on Verstappen that caused a little bit of damage, so Verstappen's been complaining about that a little bit. We've got Hamilton and Alonso potentially battling it out for 6th place. Verstappen straight away re-overtakes Russell going into turn number 1. What a move. Yeah, Russell really had no chance, and Verstappen was as fair as he could be. And Alonso re-overtakes Hamilton going into turn number 2. That is brilliant to see, and we'll see how that battle continues between those two drivers. But Leclerc, the main thing that he has to do is break away from that 1 second gap so he can stay ahead without DRS. And that's it now. Currently it's 8/10, and he's going to go through the castle section where the dirty areas is most prevalent, and the Ferrari car is faster than the Red Bull. The Ferrari car is faster in the slow speed corners. The middle sector contains the entire castle section, which is all slow speed, and that means that Leclerc, this is his best chance going through the castle section to try and get ahead of Sergio Perez, get that 1 second advantage, and just never look back. But we'll see how that goes. The rest of the drivers just making their way through single file, really. Stroll overtook Norris on the restart. Alonso overtook Hamilton, and Verstappen overtook Russell. But apart from that, the restart has very much been single file. The drivers just trying not to get in each other's way and get caught up inside the barriers. All right. So here they are leading the way out of the final sector onto the kilometre-long straight. And Leclerc is 6/10 ahead of Perez, only 6/10. That's definitely not enough for Verstappen for DRS range. So we're going to have now a battle between the top two, and if the battle does get too heated, then Verstappen's sitting right there, 1 second behind Perez, just to capitalize, maybe get a double overtake in. Who knows? I'm pretty sure it is lap number 6, because yeah, the drivers have done 6 laps. All right. Anyway, back to the race. We have got Leclerc the fastest first sector. Perez still managing to stay behind. DRS has been enabled as far as I know now, and we're going to have some pretty good racing. We've got a very long DRS train. By the looks of it, we have from Hamilton all the way down to Hamilton in 7th place all the way down to Ocon in 18th place. Is an entirely long DRS train. And yeah, what happened to Hamilton? Hamilton, I mean, he started the race in 5th, just lost a couple of positions. He lost 1 position off the race start and then another position to Alonso. Does Aston Martin have the DRS issue? By the looks of it, they don't have any sort of issue with the DRS, but of course, that issue isn't like it started working once, it'll continue working forever. It might stop working halfway through the race, we don't really know. And that will definitely, hamper Aston Martin's performance, and we'll yet to see if it's to fail, but as of now it's been working all right. Checo within DRS range, as 1/10 is the gap. He's got the slipstream, he's got the DRS. Here they go into turn number 1. Perez sends one down the inside. Leclerc tries to brake as late as possible, but with the inside line that Perez had, he makes his way through. Now going into turn number 2, Leclerc tries to get a good exit. There's a DRS zone coming, so if he can switch this back, then he will definitely do so. He's got a good exit, a good slipstream, but going into turn number 3, he's just too far back to make a move, and we have got Perez maintaining his advantage, and Perez now up into 1st place, and Charles Leclerc in 2nd, and now Leclerc is the one who's going to be attacking him. Thing is, if Leclerc can hang on through the middle sector, it's just going to be roles reversed going into the next lap, and that will be brilliant to see. All right, and as these two battle away, Verstappen is now within DRS range, so it's 2 Red Bulls versus 1 Ferrari. And if this battle gets any more intense, then George Russell and Carlos Sainz are going to catch up to the pack as well, and we will have a 5-way battle for first position, which will be fantastic. Leclerc, though, unfortunately, looks like he's just dropped out of DRS range of Sergio Perez. It's 1.02 seconds, and if Perez can maintain this advantage, then it looks like he will just run away with this race. As I say, if he can run away with this race, Leclerc is pushing immensely hard, braking so late, going all over the curbs, and stays within that 1 second. He's got the slipstream, he's got the DRS, and now going through the final couple of corners, going through turn number 20, approaching 200 kilometers an hour now. He's chasing down Sergio Perez, going into turn number 1. We're on lap number 7 of 17, 10 laps remain, and Charles Leclerc is gaining and gaining and gaining on Sergio Perez. On this occasion, not close enough into turn number 1, but if he can get a good exit out of 2, then who knows what will happen into turn number 3. Oscar Piastri with the purple third sector, who's got a massive toe off his teammate, slipstreams his way along, overtaking Lando Norris. So Oscar Piastri, the rookie, overtaking Norris, great job there, and we'll see how he progresses throughout this race. But back up at the front, the gap between the top 3 drivers is 1.2 seconds. 3 drivers within the space of 1.2 seconds, and it's a 3-way battle for first position. Leclerc has got Verstappen behind him and Perez ahead of him, and we'll wait and see what happens. We've got, now 9 laps remaining, and it's going to be pretty tough, pretty close for these guys, but we'll see what they can do. All right. Also, it looks like Ocon on those soft tyres isn't lapping much faster than Nick de Vries. Same for Valtteri Bottas, isn't going much faster than Guan Yu Zhou, and Lando Norris as well, in fact getting overtaken by his teammate. So maybe the medium tyres is the ideal race strategy. All right, gap between Perez and Leclerc, 1.1 seconds coming out of the final corner. The gap is larger than 1 second, and Perez has broken away from the DRS, and Leclerc can do nothing about it. Now all Leclerc has to do is look behind him and make sure that Verstappen doesn't overtake him, because if he isn't careful, then Verstappen's going to gain a significant amount of speed down the straight and catch up to him. And send one down the inside, and that'll be a Red Bull 1-2, which is the exact opposite of what Ferrari want. So here they are. Then Perez definitely broken away. The gap is hovering around 1 second. It's always just marginally over though. In fact, right now it is exactly 1 second. But Verstappen is 0.8 behind, and we're seeing all of these drivers push to the absolute limit. There's no point conserving tires with only 8 laps left of this race to go. They might as well just go maximum attack and try and extract every single bit of pace that they can. We're seeing they go all the way up to the wall, past the white line. Just pushing the limits of this car, of the Red Bull and the Ferrari, both cars being pushed the absolute limits. And let's see what happens there. Perez with the fastest lap of the race, Charles Leclerc with the fastest first sector, looking to respond to that. And Verstappen is catching up, but with the damage floor that he has got, it looks like he is struggling. He hasn't got that massive pace advantage that he usually does have over Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc. And that floor damage from contact with Russell is really coming back to bite him now. He's barely able to hang on to that DRS. Now it's pretty much confirmed, looking at this, 1.2 seconds now between Perez and Leclerc, unless Perez makes a mistake going into turn number 16, which I don't think he has. Leclerc is firmly outside of DRS range for Sergio Perez, and now it's only a battle between Charles Leclerc and a damaged Red Bull of Max Verstappen. So that's what we're going to see here. Sergio Perez very much king of the street circuits. His previous 5 wins have all come at street circuits, and well, he's just continuing that legacy. There's something about being able to just drive with so close to the walls, make Sergio Perez drive that little bit faster, and here he is dominating. Well, not dominating, but staying ahead of Charles Leclerc. All right. Further down the field, we have got Guan Yu Zhou and Gasly both overtaking Valtteri Bottas. And Bottas, very unfortunate for him. Those soft tyres aren't working out. And the same can be said for Esteban Ocon, not going particularly quickly. Lando Norris is in fact coming out of the pit lane on medium tyres. So yeah, the soft tyres not working out for Lando Norris. They're deciding it's just a better idea to just pit and go onto the mediums. A bit of a strange strategy. I don't know why Lando would pit. It makes no sense unless he had some sort of issue with his tyres, like a slow leak or something, like a slow puncture. Otherwise, a bit of a strange choice there from McLaren. All right. Also, guys, we've got 3,000 people watching. If you are enjoying the stream, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And I am streaming for tomorrow's race as well. So, yeah, if you're enjoying the commentary, then make sure to tune in tomorrow. But at the lead of this race, we have got Perez leading the way. The gap is so close. It's just trying to like keep our attention there. It's 1 second and just hovering thereabouts. And every time Leclerc gets a hint of a slipstream, he reduces that gap to less than 1 second. I mean, I presume he'll be charging up his battery. With only 6 laps left of this race, he will be going maximum attack, trying to use all of his battery charge possible to try and catch up to Perez. But Perez isn't having any of it. Fastest middle sector, fastest lap of the race again, and we'll see what he can do. And the gap between the 3 drivers has closed up a little bit as well. So top 3 getting closer and closer. Yeah, maybe Lando did want data on the medium tyres, but yeah, for 6 laps of racing, it's slightly strange. And also, I mean, I admit they only had 1 practice session, and that's not ideal for data gathering, but also sending him out in the middle of a race when anything can happen, especially because it's Baku, to gather some data is a bit strange. Tsunoda retired. Yeah, Tsunoda had a puncture and then damaged his car, so that's why he retired. All right. Let's see then. At the front of the field, we have once again the gap 0.9 seconds. I'm very much just talking so much about this gap, and it is just hovering 0.9, 1.0, and yeah, that's the critical thing. If Leclerc can get DRS consistently for maybe 2 laps, he can charge his battery up a little bit, and then go for a major attack. Also, by the looks of it, it looks like the Aston Martin DRS is working all right. Currently, Alonso isn't in anyone's DRS range, and neither is Stroll, but it seems to be working all right. Valtteri Bottas came over the radio, said the soft tyre is starting to melt. Now, I don't know about you, but that isn't a great sign. Yeah, so it is pretty hot in Azerbaijan, in fact, right now. The teams and all of the drivers had their like full cooling, like the stuff that they wear in like Singapore and Miami when it gets extremely hot. They had all of those ice pack suits on, and yeah, it's extremely hot in Azerbaijan, and I presume the track temperature will be getting exceedingly high. Of course, they're in a city as well, which doesn't help the temperatures. So yeah, those soft tyres really struggling, but this is useful information for them in the race tomorrow. They'll know that picking those medium tyres will be the better choice in the race. Yeah. All right. We have got Esteban Ocon coming out of the pit lane. He put on the soft tyres earlier and has now gone onto another set of soft tyres. Yeah, with 5 laps left on this race, I presume they could last 5 laps, but still, yeah, bit strange to do 2 pit stops in 1 sprint race. Yeah. All right, the gap now has finally extended out a little bit between Perez and Leclerc. It is 1.4 seconds, and Leclerc looks to have backed off a little bit. And we'll just have to wait and see now. Can he close it up? Is he recharging his battery? With 5 laps left of this race, recharging the battery and going for an attack on the final 2 laps seems like a decent choice. But thing is, to do an attack, you're gonna have to be close, and if you're gonna slow down that much, it's not gonna be great. Yeah, and this sprint race, there has been a fair amount of action. Oscar Piastri on the back of Albon, looking to make an overtake going into 9th place for the rookie driver. And further down the field, we've had Hulkenberg lose 2 places. He lost a place to Kevin Magnussen, then to Guan Yu Zhou, and then to Gasly. Gasly now looking to overtake Zhou, but yeah, Hulkenberg struggling in these race conditions. His tyres are, 6 laps older compared to everyone else. He is starting on, his advantage is pretty bad. 6 lap older tyres is pretty big advantage to the rest of the field, given everything else is equal. And Hulkenberg obviously paying the price and losing 3 places quite significantly. Oh, hello, Unishgiri. Nice to see you back. Been sticking around this YouTube channel for a long time, hey. All right. Yeah, the gap now 2 seconds between Perez and Leclerc. Perez has very much just taken off, and Leclerc can't do much about it. Verstappen, though, still has got that damaged floor, and if he can learn to drive around this damaged floor and try not to get too compromised by it, and maybe recharge his battery a little bit, he could mount an attack on Charles Leclerc. It's not the most important thing, because you do have to consider, right, in a normal race, first position is 25 points, second position is 18 points. So going for that overtake between first and second place, you gain 7 points there. Whereas in this race, if you go for the overtake from second to first place, you only gain 1 point. There's not that big of an incentive in terms of like championship points for you to go for that overtake. And sometimes it's better to play it safe. Like if you know that it could be risky and you could lose, you could get damage, and you could retire, or you could go to the back of the pack, then you're throwing away 7 points for the hope of getting 1 extra point. And it's a bit the risk versus reward just isn't there really to go for risky kind of moves in these sprint races. Of course, the racers and the drivers, they want to gain as many positions as possible. That's their driving DNA, basically. Go as high up the rankings as you can, but sometimes it's just not worth it in the long game, because as Hamilton said at this very circuit before crashing, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah, Perez pulling away now. 3 seconds is a gap. Leclerc's basically got no hope. But Verstappen now closing up on Leclerc. The gap less than 1 second. And it looks like Verstappen now has an attack brewing against Leclerc. All right, Nick de Vries overtakes Nico Hulkenberg. That's just another driver. Hulkenberg losing 4 positions in the space of 3 laps. Not ideal there for the Hulk. And yeah, he'll be looking to bounce back from that tomorrow. But this is a thing to consider now. Now we know that it is extremely hot at Baku. Tyre wear is extremely prevalent and extremely a big factor. Then teams are going to know and be wary of that and plan their strategy accordingly. Because say even an overcut of maybe 3-4 laps could give you enough of a pace advantage to overtake. So that's definitely much more important information for the teams. Do you think Alonso could overtake Sainz in the sprint? Well, the gap between Alonso and Sainz is 1.7 seconds, and with only 2 laps remaining of this race, we really haven't got long left. We could. I don't think it's possible unless Sainz makes a mistake somewhere, and Alonso gets significantly closer. It will be pretty difficult. Also, just for the points, it is 8 points for the win, and then 1 point for 8th place. 1 point for 8th place, and then it's just points decreasing by order. Do the engines fade in power over the race duration? No, they do not. Technically speaking, they lose probably 0.5 horsepower over the course of 10 laps or something. Well, don't quote me on that stat. They lose a tiny amount of power basically. And the teams have 3 engines or so. So it's over the course of maybe say 6 or 7 races that they will start losing a significant amount of power. All right. Perez has very much driven away with this. 5 seconds is the gap between the two, between Perez and Leclerc. So Perez seems to have got this one in the bag. We'll wait and see we'll wait and see if he makes a mistake now on the final lap. Well, second to last lap. And yeah. All right. Also, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, then be sure to tune in to tomorrow's stream because, yeah, I'm streaming the race tomorrow. And if you are enjoying the commentary, then be sure to come along. But let's get back to this. And it is the final lap. Well, not the final lap as of yet. Perez has to do one more complete circuit. Why only 19 cars? Logan Sargent he crashed in sprint qualifying, and then the mechanics couldn't repair the car in time for the sprint race, so that's why we only have 19 cars. I think we have 51 laps in tomorrow's race, so it's 3 times longer than today's race, 51 or 52 laps, something like that. And yeah, Verstappen now 9/10 behind Charles Leclerc. They're going through the tight, twisty corners, and Leclerc pulls that advantage out to 1 second, and then Verstappen gets it back again. It's very much back and forth, and we could see Verstappen try and mount an attack. It's so close. He has to get the DRS detection point, and if he can get that, and it seems like he might just have, because I think the detection points just earlier in the circuit, and he might have got that, in fact. So he will have DRS, I think, Verstappen, coming out of the final corner now. And this could definitely help towards his chances of overtaking Leclerc. We are now coming on to the final lap of the race. Sergio Perez. Oh, never mind. I miscounted that. The race is over. Perez just crossed the line now. And we have got Charles Leclerc in second place, Verstappen in third, Russell in fourth, Sainz in fifth, Alonso in sixth position, Hamilton in seventh, and Stroll in eighth. So those are the 8 drivers scoring points. Yeah, the sprint race is over. That's it, guys. It was pretty quick. If you did enjoy the stream, the commentary, then be sure to tune in for tomorrow's race. In fact, when I end today's stream, it will take you over to tomorrow's stream. And if you could hit the like button on tomorrow's stream, that would be fantastic, because it basically just helps out the YouTube algorithm a lot. And that will, the more people in the chat and stuff, the more the merrier. So that would be fantastic if you guys could do that. So it has been a pleasure commentating to you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful night, afternoon, morning, evening, or I think I said all of them, depending on where you are in the world. And I will see you for 51 laps of the Azerbaijan City Street Circuit. And yeah, cheers, fellas. See you later.